Hi, and welcome to our coverage of the ASUG Annual Conference in Sapphire Now 2014. We're at the ASUG News Studio, sponsored by NTT Data. I am here with some of my favorite people, ASUG volunteers. We have Catherine Glavin with ASUG headquarters, my peer who runs the volunteer program, Sherry Ann Meyer on the ASUG Board of Directors with Air Products,
Hello.
Rudy Hendricks, also on the ASUG Board of Directors, and last but not least, Dave Wascom, ASUG Board. You are all veteran volunteers. You've done this for years, but not everyone really understands what it takes to be a volunteer, why volunteering is so important to the ASUG organization. You all have full-time jobs. So Sherry, I'll start with you. Why do you volunteer?
Well, I was smiling when you started saying it's so valuable to the ASUG organization. It's been so valuable to me. So maybe it's a little bit selfish. I volunteer because I need to be intellectually challenged all the time and stimulated, and being part of the organization gives me so many opportunities to learn so much directly from SAP and from other users. You're out there, people approach you more because they see you're visible. And this is kind of my family now. I've been coming here often enough that these are my friends. It's like coming home.
Okay. And Dave?
I tell you, we've been associated with ASUG as a company for almost 10 years now. And the value that I saw as a new ASUG member and the energy that I saw from the organization and from the volunteer group, it was just something I wanted to participate in. And the value that I've been able to bring to myself and to the company as a volunteer, and being able to pay it forward to new members and the rest of the community has been fantastic for me and my organization.
Now, Rudy, you've been a long-term volunteer in the chapter area, and you're also a board member. Tell us about why volunteering is important for you.
I've been a lifelong volunteer, so getting involved with ASUG was starting over again because I had retired from 30 years of community service. I'm not doing this anymore. And when I found out about ASUG, I went to a couple of meetings, and then the two gentlemen who were on the chapter before me taught me into coming because they knew my history. And it's important to me because, and I do it for selfish reasons. I really get a really big feeling right here when put on a chapter meeting and see 40, 50, 60, 200 people out there, and then see them actually talking to the sponsors and getting something for their company out of it.
That's great.
So I'm selfish.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Selfish is good, but I think it ties into the fact that you're selfish, but it's selfish with a benefit.
Yes,
because you're
absolutely.
getting something from it, but you're giving back. You mentioned you're all board members. You've risen through the ranks as volunteers from the special interest groups and chapters. Catherine, tell me, why does ASUG need volunteers?
Well, our volunteers plan our face-to-face events and our webcasts throughout the year. Our volunteers are really our content experts. You know, at headquarters, we really facilitate everything, but we rely on our volunteers to let us know what are the hot topics in their community and who are the speakers that they want at their next event.
That's awesome. We're really reliant on the ecosystem
Yes,
to be
yes.
successful. Sherry, tell me why volunteering what does it do for your business, for your company? What did you bring back?
Oh, I brought back so many things. So I have a number of little stories where we were building out a new system or a new solution, and I've called on peers, counterparts, and said, hey, does anyone know who did XYZ? And a phone call was hooked up. I mean, one time we had like 3 hours of what I would call free consulting from someone who had gone before that really solved the issues in an afternoon. So that's one example, but also the influence opportunities, the opportunities to be face-to-face, one-on-one with SAP before they develop a product and influence and shape its design to what I know the business needs has been so invaluable to the company.
Yesterday during the keynote, Mike Stocco was on a panel talking about being relevant, how do you become indispensable. He made a comment about looking at resumes, and if ASUG is on your resume, that makes a difference. That might bring you to the top of the heap. Does anyone have a comment? I was thinking, Dave, about being a hiring manager. What does it mean to you when someone comes to the table with that experience?
I tell you, if I had to boil it down to one word, it's passion. It shows that
Yes.
you're really
Yes.
dedicated to your skills and to your craft, and that this is something that you're not just forced to do, that's something you want to be involved
Yes.
in. And that, more so than your academic background and the stuff I can read on that resume, that really resonates when I interview folks.
So Rudy, we hear a lot about paying it forward. And so I know passion and volunteering means a lot to you, but we have our speakers who pay it forward by sharing their story. How does a volunteer pay it forward?
Getting other volunteers involved.
I love
You
that.
set
Okay.
Yes.
you set the example
Yeah.
that this is what this guy did, and you're passionate, you show your passion,
Yes.
and you impart a little, A lot of people aren't volunteers. It's not in their makeup. That's fine. a lot of people are leaders. A lot of them would be just as soon to follow you and do what you want them to do, but I don't want the spotlight. So to me, it's, and in my chapter that I left, I felt like our chapter leadership, we brought on the market leader, and we've got people starting to revolve, and now people wanting to join, so that's the pay it forward.
That's awesome. We hear a lot about, you all are passionate, you are extroverts, clearly, no one's shy here, myself included. What do you say to someone who has a professional development path and they may be a little nervous about volunteering? Is there sort of mentorship? How does it work when you get a new volunteer on board? I know ASUG headquarters, actually, I'll come to you, Catherine, we have some training. So
we do. We have an orientation program, and we actually recommend that if you've never volunteered with ASUG before, that you begin as a market leader. It's a great entry-level position. You can actually shadow another volunteer in that community and really get an idea of what really kind of rising through the ranks would be like.
Okay. Now, we've talked about SIGs and chapters in the board. There's a lot of volunteer positions. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. So we do have the board of directors, and then we have chapter volunteers. Primarily, they focus on our face-to-face events. Our special interest group volunteers are organized by process, industry, and technology. Those primarily focus on our webcasts throughout the year and also our programming at annual conference. And then we also have champions, and champions are kind of the unsung hero of ASUG, and it's actually a program we're looking to grow. The champion is really by a company instead of community, and it's the person at your company who lets their colleagues know, hey, did you even know you're an ASUG member? Our membership is on the corporate level, and so it's really imperative that we have active champions really bringing their colleagues along to the next local chapter meeting.
Right, it really does take a community. I'm going to ask Catherine one last question, if you can share with me, if I want to volunteer, where do I go?
All right, well, if you're joining us here at ASUG Annual Conference, stop by the ASUG Hub volunteer desk, and we can get you rocking and rolling. If you're not here with us today, you can volunteer by signing up online, asug.com volunteer section, where you can also view our list of openings as well and see which communities are really looking for someone to start tomorrow. And if you're looking to be a champion, you can either stop by the ASUG Hub volunteer desk, or you can email champions@asug.com.
And is it fair to say that there's a list of roles and responsibilities with those positions?
Yes.
Right. So you know what you're in for.
Exactly. We'll have you review those roles and responsibilities, and then if you do formally apply, we will reach out to you and then schedule a formal interview with the volunteer team that you're interested in joining.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. You are my favorite
you.
people, and I'm delighted to have you here today. Thanks for joining us. For more SAP news, visit asugnews.com.